afternoon. Sorry. Well, good afternoon again, and thank you all so much for being here. As yet, we are braced for another hurricane coming to the city of New Orleans. As we have demonstrated throughout this hurricane season, even prior to the hurricane season starting, that the city of New Orleans is prepared. Seems like more and more prepared every single time, and we're wanting to encourage our residents, our visitors, to not have any fatigue, that now is not the time to lay back. It's the time to continue to stand firm and be prepared to respond to whatever comes our way. I'm joined here this afternoon with our Director of Homeland Security, Colin Arnold. I'm joined also by Director of Public Safety and Homeland Security, Colonel Everett. Also, Dr. Jennifer Vegno, who is our Director of the Health Department of the City of New Orleans. Also with us is my Deputy CEO, Ramsey Green of Infrastructure, and also Gassan Corbin, who is our Director of the Sewage and Water Board, and also have our Superintendent of the Sewage and Water Board with us again. And we welcome all of these leaders who have just been relentless in not only preparing our city, but just standing tall and firm throughout everything that has come our way. Zeta is expected to impact our region tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow evening. May strengthen again, and with the expectation of arriving as a Category 1 hurricane. The city of New Orleans will do an early dismissal tomorrow at 12 noon. The storm appears to be moving very quickly, which is a good thing. We don't want it to sit, rest over us, but we're looking at wind. Again, similar to what we kind of saw with Delta, but we're looking at wind. Strongest expected impacts, that's again supposed to be wind, could lead to power outages. That's one thing that we really do get concerned about when it comes, of course, to wind. We need folks to prepare now, get the supplies that you need, make a plan, stay safe, stay home. Also, as it relates to sandbags, and Colin will touch on this as well, you know, we activated 3 areas throughout the city. There is still sand available. Colin will give you more information as it relates to those areas. I just want to continue to thank the New Orleans City Council members who help us deliver sand and make it available to residents. It really is a strong partnership. Department of Public Works, it's sand, sewage and water board, and the like, put it out there, and well, sewage and water board's in. We've been here before, as I mentioned from the very start of this, over and over again this year. We're no strangers to it. 7 times, of course, in the cone of uncertainty is unprecedented, but again, we stand ready and prepared, and wanting to, again, encourage our people to not have fatigue as it relates to being prepared in the storms that are coming our way. This one, again, being Zeta. So with that, you know, we have made it known as of yesterday and leading up in preparation for Zeta about the impacts of our Turbine 4. You'll hear Gassan talk more about that, and specifically hearing from our superintendent as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Colin, and I'll be back. Hear from other leaders as it relates to Zeta. Colin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness for the 7th time this season is prepared to respond to tropical storm, potentially again Hurricane Zeta, obviously moving into the Caribbean off of the Yucatan Peninsula this morning and afternoon, and now in the Gulf, again potentially impacting southeast Louisiana and our area as a tropical storm or potentially a Category 1 hurricane. We have been fortunate over the past 6 storms that, although in the cone of uncertainty at all times in the beginning, they have deviated to the east or west. and we're very fortunate for that. And we think about our neighbors, both in Southwest Louisiana and in Alabama and Florida, that have been impacted this year. I don't think we're going to be as lucky with this one ever since Sunday, and I don't think I'm repeating anything that we all haven't looked at. This really hasn't deviated off track. It's looking like a Southeast Louisiana impact. Our neighbors in Plaquemines Parish, St. Bernard, Orleans, Jefferson, and others will all feel impacts from this. What can we expect? Potentially 2 to 4 inches of rain. Potentially higher amounts if we get caught under training bans, right? 6 inches over the event. So we're talking over 6 to 8, 12 hours. They're a little more concerned with wind on this. This is a wind-driven event, obviously, and so we are looking at a pretty tight time frame of once you start around 4 or 5 in the afternoon into the evening, potentially up to about 11, talking about winds sustained up in the tropical storm force region, 40, 45 miles an hour, and then gusts higher than that, and even gusts potentially up to hurricane speed or slightly lower. Storm surge, not really a factor for any areas in Orleans Parish inside levee protection, but obviously outside, we've asked by 6 p.m. today for people in Venetian Isles, Irish Bayou, and Lake Catherine to make that decision voluntarily, what's best for them if they want to leave. Just giving them the idea that potentially 4 to 6 feet of storm surge along that Lake Bourne area and the area outside levee protection in Orleans Parish. At this point, the Flood Protection Authority East does not anticipate closing the Highway 90 or Highway 11 floodgates. That kind of runs our decision on whether or not it's a mandatory or voluntary evacuation. So this is voluntary at this point. So obviously we'll continue to monitor this through tonight. We'll have another full advisory at 10 p.m. We'll continue to be up in the EOC as a staff monitoring. We are activating the EOC for a tropical event tomorrow at 7 a.m. and we'll be there throughout. The mayor has signed an emergency declaration declaring an emergency for the city of New Orleans in line with the governor's proclamation that was signed by the governor. So it seems that all the parishes are falling in line with those declarations. If you want to sign up for alerts, you can text Zeta, Z-E-T-A, to 888-777. If you have or know of a family member or neighbor that may need extra assistance, not necessarily in this storm or in a shelter in place, but in future events, this is a good time to remind people about the Special Needs Registry. They can go to call 311 or go to ready.nola.gov and sign up for our Special Needs Registry. With that, I'm going to pass it off to Dr. Jennifer Avegno from the Health Department. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'll just be really quick. I just want to reiterate what Colin said. If you or a loved one, and even if you're out of town, but your loved one in New Orleans has medical special needs or special needs of any kind, and you haven't yet signed up for the Special Needs Registry, please do call 311, go to the website. We will have extra folks available in the next day to take those calls. We've gotten a lot of folks this season, and that is a silver lining to all the storms that we've had. We are working with our healthcare partners, hospitals, nursing homes. All of them are ready and prepared to weather the storm. We have contingency plans if in the event there's a large power outage and we do need to do some medical special needs sheltering. We have already had those plans in place, so we'll be ready to go. And just a reminder, if you are sheltering with folks outside of your household, maybe you've got relatives that are coming over to ride out the storm at your house for whatever reason, COVID is still here. It hasn't left. It spreads just as easily between family members as it does between complete strangers. So make sure you're continuing all the precautions that you would be normally doing, wearing a mask, keeping your distance from folks that are not in your household, practicing good hygiene. And just one other safety tip, with the other hurricanes we've had in Louisiana, we've seen many of the deaths that occurred came from generator issues and generators used improperly. So if in the event the power does go out and you have a generator, make sure you are using it exactly as it is designed, outside and not in a place that it could be risky to you and your family. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Vegno. You want to go ahead?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
No problem, no problem. You say, stay in your lane. That's all right. I'll stay in mine. All right, so we're going to keep the information flowing. I'm going to ask Deputy CAO Ramsey Green to come forth at this time. Ramsey.
Thank you so much, Mayor. We've been through this before, so just a couple things. Operationally, beginning at 6 p.m. tonight, neutral ground parking will be okay for residents. Just when you drive up onto the neutral ground, avoid any RTA tracks, intersections. Don't park on the walking paths and drive slowly. Once you leave, drive slowly as well. The grass will be wet as well. Our Department of Property Management folks are ensuring public safety generators are ready and available to our first responders. The Department of Public Works has gone into split shift mode, which means we're no longer doing potholes, we're doing all catch basins, reports, cleaning, and doing that throughout this event on main thoroughfares. Additionally, the Sanitation Department did a great job this weekend with household hazardous waste, and thank you so much to our residents who participated in that. We're making sure that stuff is put away before the storm happens. Trash is going to be collected if your day is tomorrow, but it's going to be collected pretty early. As soon as your trash collection is done, try and bring your can in as quickly as possible. Don't leave your cans out for fear of them dumping and things going all over the place. If you have an open permit for a job site, you received a notice on Monday asking you to prepare your job site for this storm. We'll have a second notice going out to all open permits tomorrow, but please, if you have an open permit, if you're a builder, if you're renovating your house, get your house ready. I know we've done this what seems like a million times, but please get your property ready. Additionally, for all DPW joint infrastructure projects with Sewage and Water Board, contractor notifications have gone out to prepare their job sites. Same is going on at the Canal Street collapse site and all of our vertical infrastructure projects as well. RTA is status normal until further notice. They're going to make a decision once they get their sort of trigger point is 35 miles per hour sustained winds. Ballots. Today is the last last day of early voting. Last time to vote is 7 p.m. tonight. Just met with the Registrar of Voters, Dr. Sandra Wilson. That team is doing an incredible job. Curbside voting, which we were hoping to do tomorrow, is not going to happen. Curbside ballot drop-off. Let me rephrase that. Curbside ballot drop-off will not occur tomorrow. We're tracking to get that back going on Thursday. Curbside ballot drop-off, early voting again ends today at 7 p.m. Finally, we have, pardon me, Entergy. If you just follow at Entergy NOLA, their crews are ready to go. MSY, there is a likelihood of some potential cancellations if you have relatives flying into or out of town. If you have a flight, just track your flight. We all do that normally. You'll hear directly from the airline. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ramsey. And you want to keep us going in that
Oh,
spirit of
yeah,
infrastructure?
Gassan, Corbin, Director of Sewage and Water.
Your infrastructure.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ramsey. Good afternoon, everyone. We at the Sewage and Water Board are finalizing our storm preparation, and all of our 99 drainage pumps are available. It's important to note that just approximately half of those pumps are 60 hertz or 60 cycle motor technology that are powered by Entergy. The remaining pumps are the 25 hertz that we've talked about repeatedly, and those are powered by our turbines and other power generation equipment. For this specific event, we are using turbine 1, turbine 3, 6, and we're also using all our 5 EMDs, and we're using all of our frequency changers as needed. What's missing, obviously, for the storm is T4. T4, as many of you know, is one of our primary source of power. T4, as many of you know, and we were told you yesterday that it tripped offline over the weekend and will not be in service in time for this event. And what that means is that we will lose a great deal of redundancy not having T4. What that means also to our residents, that we have a plan, and then we have identified a source of power, whether it's T1, 3, 6, or the MDs or static frequency to every pump that we know we will need. So if everything goes as planned, our residents should really see no difference whether T4 is in operation or not. That's our plan. That's what we're maximizing our kilowatts that are available to the best of our ability. To offset some of the potential situation we may face, we're going to maximize our staffing level throughout all our pumping stations, as well as the ones that are typically unmanned or unstaffed. We're going to have electricians, mechanics, operators. We're going to be staffing all of those locations to minimize any downtime and improve our response should anything happen. What's also important, because I mentioned that half of our pumps are operated by Entergy, we're in constant communication at the highest level with Entergy, our partners, making sure that they understand how important it is that we communicate if there's any issues, advance notice to give us as much time to respond and react as much as we can. With that, that's all I have, and I brought, as the mayor mentioned, Bob Turner in anticipation for some questions specific to T4. So with that was my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Superintendent, anything you wanna add at this time? Up to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Not at this time, I'll wait.
Okay, very good. All right. And so I'm gonna ask Colonel Abbott to come on in and close us out, and then we'll go to questions and answers. Colonel?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to be short. One, I want to personally thank all the citizens and businesses in this city for the tremendous support we've had throughout this very long, drawn-out hurricane season. We're not done yet. We won't be graded yet, but our grade is totally dependent upon the support of each and every individual taking care of themselves, their family, their businesses, their neighbors. And if we do that just one more time, I think that we'll see that we'll be able to put this in our rearview mirror and count off this season as one, very difficult, two, that's been provided with support of our federal, state, and local agencies, but more important, it's had the support of each and every citizen in the city. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Colonel. And so, Ms. Latanya, we'll go to questions and answers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. WWL? Either Mr. Cravon or Mr. Turner, in regards to T4, I know you said a trip. Do we know what caused the trip? And then also, I know you said we don't expect it to be online for this event. Do we have a timeline of when it will be? And then also a cost estimate to that?
I'm gonna let Bob maybe go a little bit in little detail, but I do want you to know that I asked him not to spend a lot of time on diagnosing and evaluating what exactly happened. We know some parts are broken or damaged. We know it's gonna be 4 to 6 weeks at least, because this is an old machine. The parts are not off-the-shelf parts. We need to fabricate some of them to replace them. So it's gonna take a while. But for now, we've suspended any looking further of the causes and what have you. But I promise you we will, because we owe it to you and us to do that. But so our answer is going to be limited in terms of exactly what happened and why it happened. Just so you know. Well, anything you have?
And that's to prepare for what's coming our way.
That's correct. And so, exactly what happened, as Hassan said, we collected a bunch of data that we're going to have consultants have a look at to see if we can determine if there was something that has trended over the course of a long period of time that may point to what the actual cause of the bearing failure was. But what we know so far is this: one of the main bearings on the turbine has failed. There was no indication of any kind of a problem until that failure occurred on Sunday morning. So the machine was running fine until that point in time. The safety mechanisms in the machine took the machine out of service when it detected that there was an issue. It appears to have been an issue that developed very quickly. And during the course of at least the 2 or 3 days leading up to it, the data that I've seen so far there, there was not an indication that, you know, as far as any kind of vibration issues or anything else that would have indicated a bearing failure was imminent.
And just a clarification, can you explain again the plan, since we don't have T4 in place?
Yes. Yeah, so, we met today, for about 2 hours and yesterday developed a power plan, for this particular event. It's a non-standard power distribution plan. We've assembled the people that work in the power generation unit as well as the power dispatchers and the drainage department, put everybody together. And we've developed basically how we're going to set the system up. So we have a power generation source identified for each 25 cycle pump in the drainage system as it stands right now. Assuming that the forecast holds true and we have no additional issues with any of the equipment, don't really see a big problem at this point in time. So we're just gonna have to watch and see what happens during the course of the event, and then we've developed some contingency plans in case certain things trip off or fail during the course of the event. We ran through those today to develop scenarios that certain things could happen. If that happens, how long does it take to recover? What things have to be done to make sure that we recover in the fastest way? And then how will we get pumps back in service quickly? So,
Which speaks to your deployment strategy of having cross-sector employees on hand.
that's correct. We, as Hassan said, we have additional staff that are going to be working at the drainage pumping stations, particularly those unmanned stations will be manned. We also have additional staff that are going to be working in the power plant. And those are the people that run the turbines as well as the people that run the boilers to produce the steam to keep the other turbines going. We're keeping over additional technical staff, including electricians, mechanics, things like that. So if anything drops out, we're able to respond very quickly to those things. And we're setting up a special emergency operations group just to deal with these power issues if they materialize during the course of the event.
The advocate followed by WU.
Bob, more questions for you. So just trying to do the calculations in my head, and please fill this in with correct numbers, but my understanding is without T4, y'all are operating basically without any margin or any significant margin if something goes offline. Is that right?
We have very little redundancy, that is correct.
So what does the contingency plan look like in that situation? Because if one of the other turbines trips off, there's not going to be enough.
That's
Or
the whole
I would assume
problem.
even if one of the EMDs trips off.
So turbine 1 trips off, it could take as much as 15 minutes to 20 minutes to reestablish one. We have a plan to do that. EMDs, if the EMDs trip off, about 15 minutes, and we went through the plan today to talk about how we would reestablish power and restart pumps. And so during that 15-minute period, there's a lot of things that are going on at various locations. And after that 15-minute period is over, assuming we had that problem with that piece of equipment, then we would then begin to restart pumps at that time. So again, we're not anticipating that at the present time, but at the same time, it's a smart thing to think about all the possible things that could go wrong, and at least to have a plan to address those if ultimately we do see some kind of failure with that.
And I mean, if a more serious issue were to come up where a turbine had to be off for more than 15 minutes or during that 15 minutes, there would not be enough system to be running there would not be enough power to run the system at full capacity, right?
Not at full capacity, absolutely not. But I think, what we do have is we mapped out the entire power distribution system and what pieces of equipment will be running the various pumps throughout the system. So, what we would probably have to do in a case like that is go to our backup plan, and we would be, of course, we're going to be monitoring the rain as it falls. We're going to be monitoring the suction levels at all of the drainage pump stations, which is a pretty good indication of if they're possible flooding issues occurring anywhere in the system. And then at that point in time, we would then have to probably do some juggling with the pumps. So we would then, you know, if we really got into a really serious situation, possibly having to break prime on one pump where in an area where we're not seeing significant flooding to load up another pump in an area that does. So again, that would be a drastic situation if we had, you know, a significant failure of power equipment and we're not able to get it back on in just a few days.
DSU.
I just had one for Mr. Charlie, one for the mayor. Just to kind of piggyback what Jeff said in layman's terms, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst and 10 being the highest, what is your comfort level right now, having explained everything that you just said, for where things stand for the Sewage and Water Board?
So I can tell you that anytime it rains, I'm not comfortable. And so, you know, it's, you know, we have to react. We're always in a state of reacting to the situation as it presents itself. And this is not different in that regard. The difference is that I think we've done a significant amount of more planning, I guess you would say, because we know we are in a situation where we have very little redundancy. And so to get a better sense of how the system will work under these conditions and maybe perhaps a little more comfort, that's what we've done so far. Obviously, if T4 had not tripped, I would not be nearly as uncomfortable perhaps as I am right now, but those are the facts of life, and so we have to react to that, and I think we've done that well. And we're going to continue to do that throughout this event. And you know, we'll be transparent on this and certainly let everybody know that, you know, we have a problem that's a very significant problem that could cause flooding. You know, we'll be out in front telling people about that.
And then, Mayor, if you could talk about this, it's the 7th time Louisiana's been in the cone. People are getting, they're almost to the brink when it comes to storms here, and reacting and going through the keeping your kids home, stocking up. How do you keep people engaged in the process? I mean, I know we're at the end of what's been a historic hurricane season, but how do you keep people active and ready in case something does happen? Because I think a lot of people have this, we've dodged a bullet now all summer, but it does look like what Colin said, this one is gonna head towards Southeast Louisiana. How do you keep people active and ready?
Well, one is to be ready as a city, demonstrating that we are utilizing all of our assets and to be prepared for what comes our way. Also, as it relates to, of course, encouraging, you know, residents again to heed the warnings and the messages and the guidelines that we put forth. But at the end of the day, it's the reality of what could occur and what we've seen happen to other communities, and we're not immune to that. We've been impacted before, and I don't see how you can forget that. Understanding that we're seeing more and more storms, the frequency, the strength is a testament to what we could expect in the future. I don't see it slowing down when you look at science and you look at data, and we're vulnerable, you know, and we have to recognize that. And we're not the only city that's vulnerable. Every city has vulnerabilities. For us, it is hurricane season that comes every single year. What worries me about, not just with hurricane season, it's the now more aggressively the warnings of tornadoes, as well as just these heavy downpours when you're not even expecting a storm that's coming your way. So it's almost, we have to be prepared every single day in the city that we live in. And that's a reality, whether it's hurricane season or not.
Other questions? Yeah.
Sorry, another Turbine 4 question.
Okay. You need to have you seen Turbine 4?
I have.
Okay, good.
It's something.
No, it is, but no.
There's Turbine 4 has a long history. And I'm curious, I know y'all haven't done a root cause or anything like that, but at this point, is this looking like it's related to the governor issues it was having, the refurbishment it went through, the the T5 explosion or any of those possible causes, ruled out causes, anything
Related
like
to
that?
being old,
Just being a
antiquated, over 100 years old. I mean, let's be real about it. This is what we've been talking about literally from day one. Not only talking about it, but doing what it takes to get the resources necessary that are unprecedented in this city we've delivered. So it is facing the challenges head on, not making any excuses, but we have antiquated equipment that we've allowed to exist in our city for generations, and this is the time that we have to get off of generating our own power through these turbines, and we're taking steps towards that. So it's almost like you are building a new plane while you're having to fly the old one. I'm sorry.
No, it's perfectly right. As we've showed you, we've demonstrated day in, day out, day in and day out. We will look at the cause and we will share it. We'll be transparent. It's too early to tell. We don't think it's related to D5 by any means. But we will divulge what we know. But also what's noteworthy about T4 is that we've invested a lot of money into that machine, and it's very difficult to walk away from it. So we have to very thoughtfully and very frugally continue to invest a little bit and to continue to rely on it until we get the T7 in place. As many of you know, T5, we're working hard to bring that back temporarily because we have to, not because we like to invest in old equipment, but the T7 has about 2-year timeline, so we have to bring whatever within our means to keep the city dry the best we can. So we have no other option but to rely on T4, and we're gonna bring it back as soon as we can.
And right now
Last question.
sorry, right now the 25 hertz capacity, generating capacity is what, and what's the full power draw from the 25 hertz pumps?
What we have available is about 32 megawatts available to us.
Doesn't the system need 40 something?
Not for this storm. I mean, 40 is when you throw every single pump at an event that is 8 hours long and it's dumping 3 inches an hour. We don't anticipate this event to be anywhere near that. That's why we're confident with our plan that it will work for managing the storm.
No other questions.
Okay. All right, if no other questions, we thank you again for being here and just being committed to giving the best information possible to the public. And we can't do it without you. We appreciate it.